Hello. This video is going to be in two sections. The first is a discussion of the way the political parties seem to be colluding over something very odd, and even the political parties that are most vocal in their criticism and apparent hatred of the Westminster government, they are in on the game as well. I don't know why. And the second section, which is a small bit at the end, will be the I can title that the disillusionment of Dr. Campbell, which does sound rather like a good title for a novel, doesn't it? I mean, it's so weird that if you saw it as a plot in a novel, you dismiss it, well, as a bit ridiculous, I suppose. So, but listen to the end, because there's a sting in the tail. And well, yeah, I'll leave it till the end. Okay, before I get to the discussion, I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. I'm also on Twitter, Gab and Parler, where I am at Granniopteryx. It's on Twitter, Gab and Parler that I let you know when I've uploaded a new video. The best way you can help my channel, and this video in particular, is to like this video, and you can share it, please do, and subscribe if you're subscribed on YouTube. Remember, check you're still subbed. YouTube's a bit careless about hanging on to subscriptions. You can also contribute financially on Buy Me a Coffee or one of the other links. All the links I've spoken about are in the description. Now, back to the collusion. This is Andrew Bridgen, MP. He was in the Conservatives, but the whip was withdrawn. Sorry, here you are. He was in the Conservatives, but the whip was withdrawn a couple of months ago. I won't intrude on this with a lengthy explanation of what that means, but when a whip is withdrawn, you're still a member, technically, of the party, whichever it is, but you're not invited to meetings, briefings, updates, handouts and so on. You've effectively been sent to Coventry. So now he describes himself as a member of the Conservative Party, but sitting as an independent, having had the whip suspended in January 2023. He made a speech on the 1st of he made a speech on December the 13th, 2022, and this is on the YouTube channel of Aseem Malhotra. Now, let's see, I have a thing here about Aseem Malhotra. Aseem Malhotra is a controversial, you notice that word controversial there, that is a signal to you not to take any notice of him. He's a British cardiologist, a public health campaigner, an author and advocate against the use of, I have a little bit of a problem saying things here. We'll get to that in a minute. So if you want to know any more about, I suppose that's Mr. Malhotra, not Dr. Malhotra. Again, for you guys, especially in the USA, when a doctor becomes a surgeon, they revert from doctor to Mr. That's from the naval tradition, where the ship's surgeon was given the rank of Mr. on the military rank of Mr. So yeah, Mr. Malhotra, you'll find him on Wikipedia. Have I got this on mute? Yeah. Come on. He made this speech, and after he made this speech, the whip was taken away. Do you notice the number of? It's quite an empty house, but do you notice the number who are actually walking out on him here? The room in which he's talking is called a debating chamber, but nothing is being debated. Here, let's just go back to that. The Deputy Speaker calls him to speak. He stands up and just look at all those people walking out. There are very few left. Okay. So there are many good reasons for MPs not to be in the debating chamber. I've said this before. Most of the real business of Parliament goes on in the committee rooms. But of the ones who are there, let's see again. Well, yeah, more than, well, they all go out, about 80% of them. Now we come to the second speech he makes. And this is something really, odd. Okay, so again, this is on silent. He's called to speak by the Speaker this time. Now, look, everybody gets up. Now, I want you to check this again. You see, this side of the House is where the Conservatives sit. It's on the right. The Speaker's there. So as you come in from the Speaker's point of view, that's on the right of the Speaker. That's the left. And I want to point out to everybody that when you refer to people being on the right or the left, you are actually referring to the Houses of Parliament, wherever abouts in the world you are. Now, you see this chap here. Let's go back. And you watch him coming from the right side of the House. Here, walking over. And he says something to these two MPs who are sitting there. And they are already standing up. I'll just go back to that again. They're already standing, you see. He comes over quite blatantly. He makes a sort of gesture. They get up and they go away. Now, this was on Dr. Campbell's site, and he actually says the fact that he's crouching down there is he's trying to hide. No, he's not trying to hide. He comes across to the other side of the House quite openly. What's happening is, by parliamentary tradition, you're not supposed to get into the eye line between the Speaker who's there and the person who's making the speech. So he was crouching down. Hang on. He gets up, goes over, standing up, no problem, tells the MPs there, this is where you get out, on the opposition, remember, and then he crouches down on his way out so as not to get in the eye line of the Speaker. All right. So I noticed that too, and I thought I had to make a video about it. The MP, by the way, is the one who went across, is Andrew Mitchell, and he's been in trouble before. But give the devil his due, he was crouching down there only because he didn't want to be in the direct line of sight between the Speaker and the person making the speech, because that's just not done. After all, let's keep things in proportion here. You can collude with the opposition to kill a democratic debate, but you must show respect to the Speaker while doing so. So it was plainly obvious, at least to me, that there's some sort of collusion and a private and secret and previously rehearsed agreement between the political parties. And I did think, oh, I should be talking about that. I'm sure there'll be many more people noting the same thing, including Dr. Campbell, as I said, and I'll get back to him in a little while. But back to the two Andrews, Bridgen and Mitchell. So I'll say it's pretty well, as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty well settled that all the political parties have reached some sort of an arrangement whereby they've agreed not only not to debate the necessity of the medical intervention, but to refuse to hear any counter-arguments. Even the SNP, this was really shocking, the Scottish National Party, which has absolutely revelled in disrupting the business in Whitehall, they were completely absent. They didn't walk out. They didn't actually present themselves at all. Mind you, I can imagine that they were all probably back in Scotland destroying the documents that might incriminate them following the precipitous resignation of Nicola Sturgeon and then her husband from the financial tiller of their political Ponzi scheme. Anyway, now we get to the second part of the video, the disillusionment of Dr. Campbell. When I started watching The Good Doctor right at the beginning of this business 2 years ago, there was very little information elsewhere that seemed to me to be reliable. And Dr. Campbell and I were broadly of the same opinion. I actually did make a video telling you all that, considering my age and history of respiratory illness, I had the first rollout. And then the follow-up one. I did say at the time that since it was experimental, and I knew it was experimental, I thought it better to be one of the people on whom it was tested before anyone tried it on somebody younger. Dr. Campbell also had a similar attitude to the necessity for this intervention. For us oldies or people with comorbidities. We were both of a mind on this, and we both thought, fantastic, we found a protective remedy and all will be well. And for a few months we carried on like that until Dr. Campbell started getting collated evidence from all sorts of different sources. And I noticed a note of scepticism creeping in to his various videos, a scepticism which seemed to get far more obvious over the months, especially when he realised how careful he had to be what he said, which is something I also learnt the hard way, I might say. Actually, I was probably getting suspicious a little while before him. And I reckon that's because I'm not a medic, which means I was less inclined to believe that I was in any sort of a community. I'm not saying that I'm more astute or perceptive than Dr. Campbell, by the way. I think I was ahead of him in the same way that anyone would be if they didn't know the way and asked somebody who did know the way, who then pointed ahead and said something like, yeah, you go that way. So back to Dr. Campbell. He started to get told off by YouTube about what he was saying, even when he was quoting scientific sources, until he learnt, as I did, to talk in all sorts of code and circumlocution to get his message across. And with that last video that he put up, he was showing the MPs colluding in a walkout, and you could see that Dr. Campbell had finally seen the situation for what it was. Well, you'd have to be a nut adult not to, I reckon. So the question is this, as my husband said when I showed him that second video, what the hell is going on? Why would all the MPs walk out like that? I mean, if he was talking nonsense, why couldn't any of them stay to say he was talking nonsense? Only the spokesman did stay. And then he came out with a lot of platitudes thereafter. but the others, absented themselves from the situation. By the way, if you can hear some weird sounds going on, it's the dog. I think he can feel that I'm feeling a little upset. All right, kid. One possibility for them not staying is that they didn't want to prolong his time holding a discussion. That's possible, because the more they talk, the more the clip is likely to circulate. But there was nobody there at all, neither from the main nor the fringe parties. But the question remains, why are they clubbing together in this way? Why are they all colluding with each other in this way? What's going on? And you can't expect answers from me. Even Dr. Campbell doesn't know. But I can finish with another mystery. Both of these videos were drawn to my attention by 2 subscribers, and I want to say I always welcome heads up from various subscribers. Sometimes I can't deal with the situation, but sometimes I can, and this was one situation where I could. So one subscriber messaged me by Gmail, sent me Gmails about it, and the other PM'd me on Twitter. So when I was listing up the points for this video yesterday afternoon, I went back to the subscriber who'd sent me the links on Twitter, because I rather think there was something I'd missed. And so I wanted to make sure that I'd included everything that he'd spoken about. And this is what I found. All of those Twitter messages, his messages and his entire account have completely disappeared. Yep. All right. Well, till next time, if I'm still here. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.